So I want to talk about how I traded a $30,000 a month business in which I felt completely trapped for one that's gone ahead and made me millions of dollars and has resulted in freedom, fulfillment, and absolute abundance to the highest degree. And through sharing this story, I feel a lot of you will be able to take away some valuable lessons that can potentially help prevent you from making mistakes that could lead you down a path that'll feel trapped, probably depressed, and very, very far away from your goals. Because I presume that most of you here are probably here for the same exact reason. You want control of your lives, you want the freedom to do what you want, when you want, and to make enough money to take care of yourselves and the people around you without hesitating because there's enough money coming in month after month. So I'll get a little bit into the backstory soon, but just to kind of briefly give you an overview, I was running a marketing agency that was pulling about $30,000 a month, which again, on a surface level sounds incredible. I don't think anybody would actually complain about making that much money every single month. On paper, everything looked like I was having an incredible life, that successful business, but deep down, everything was actually in the worst possible direction. Like my life was really not steering towards a place where I would have seen it when I first started entrepreneurship. And that's kind of the paradox and dilemma, is that you work super hard to make a certain amount of income where you can actually feel proud of yourself, where you can take care of yourself and the people around you. But then the paradox is if you're making money the wrong way, you actually end up completely trapped in a worse situation of if you were just an employee. And it's kind of, you end up actually stuck. You end up completely stuck because you have a business, you have customers that need to be serviced, you have client expectations, you have retainers, and then you have employees that need to get paid, and marketing services, and all these different overhead costs that you just never had before. And now you're completely trapped and enslaved to your own business. That's kind of exactly where I found myself. It was a huge dilemma where I wanted to make all this money, and I reached that point, and the only thing I actually wanted was to not make any of it anymore. Right? So we'll talk about how I got there in a second, but this is something that I think is just, you need to be made aware of. You need to be very made aware of. If you're seeking to get into entrepreneurship at any point in time, whether it's right now or in the future, you need to know what you're up against. And I'm not trying to, overwhelm you with information or scare you away from doing entrepreneurship, because it's a phenomenal thing to do and to achieve and to chase. There's a lot of fulfillment, but there's also a lot of risk and responsibilities. So the point of this video, if I just was going to have one big takeaway here, is that it's not about how much money you make, it's about how you make it. And I really think that's a main takeaway here. I tell this to everyone too. I don't really care if someone makes $1 million a year or $1 million a month. If you make that kind of money under the conditions where you're sacrificing your life, your sanity, and your freedom to make that, what's the point? What really is the point? You're working just to put yourself and trap yourself in another system, this hamster wheel. You escape one rat race to enter the next rat race. Right? And everyone has their end goals, everyone has their dreams and stuff and their ambitions. Maybe you want to become a billionaire or a multimillionaire. That's fantastic. But there's different ways to do it and achieve the same goal. There are two paths or multiple paths to reach the same outcome. So you have to be very, very diligent when it comes to doing the due diligence and research of how you're going to make that money. So it's really quite easy to find yourself entering some business model which you were told was going to make you rich or make you wealthy and set you free, to only then realize that you are completely enslaved in that business. And we'll discuss which ones, because I've pretty much tried every single one out there, so I can really speak on it because I'm a testament of the attempt of all these different businesses, which finally led me to one which has allowed me true freedom, true flexibility, true fulfillment, true abundance, and the ability to have an absolute true sense of control over my life. We'll discuss it. Maybe it's obvious to some of you. Maybe it's obvious, not obvious to some. So we'll discuss how I got there and which one I truly believe in. And obviously I'm biased because I do it on a daily basis, but I'll explain why, right? So the thing here is that there's an absolute kind of paradox when it comes to business, right? Or making money online or becoming an entrepreneur, is that you enter this business chasing and seeking freedom, but in turn, most people end up becoming trapped and enslaved in their business, right? So this kind of like relentless execution paradox is one of the main killers of people's potential success. There's so many people who have potential to make so much money online, but they fail simply because they've found themselves in the wrong vehicle. And many of you guys know the Warren Buffett famous quote, which is, doesn't matter how hard you're rowing if you're finding yourself in the wrong boat. If you're in the wrong boat, in the wrong vehicle, it doesn't matter how hard you push and pull, it's never going to wedge. You're stuck. You're stuck and you're never going to go past those plateaus. You're going to be stuck doing things you don't want to do. You're going to be stuck working super, super hard, and your yield is going to be very low, right? You need to find yourself in a vehicle that allows multipliers of leverage. The effort that you put in is going to give you multiples in return, versus doing a bunch of effort and getting the same or less return, which is a lot of vehicles out there. All right. So if I'm going to speak on my own experiences, because I've basically tested everything out there, I've done Amazon FBA, I've done drop shipping, I bought vending machines for a point in time. Please don't ever buy vending machines. They're horrible. I did crypto, MLMs, everything out there, and then my social media marketing agency. And so I've really tested the field. I bought mentors in each and respective business. I've really tried them the best I possibly could. Now, obviously these businesses work to some degree because there are people who see success. So I'm not saying they don't work, but again, it's not about how they work or how well they work or how much money they make. It's how you're able to generate those funds, how you're able to generate the revenue, right? What are you actually sacrificing in exchange for the monetary return? It's okay to sacrifice. I'm not saying what I do, I don't sacrifice, or what I didn't sacrifice to get to where I am. Of course I did. But is there a point in time where the sacrifice ends up going down and the yield and results and return ends up going higher, right? Is there a way you can offset these? Because a lot of times you actually sacrifice to get to a point where you're making money, and you continue to sacrifice as your income goes up. So the more you make, the more you sacrifice, the higher your risk goes up, the higher your responsibilities goes up, and the less your time and freedom go down, right? That ends up going down. And so it's this, again, very inverse calculation where you think you're actually making more money and you're creating more abundance, but really you're just trapping yourself and tightening up the shackles further and further and further the more money you make, right? So that's one of the main things I want to take away. It really doesn't matter how much money you make. It's about how you make your money. So I basically reached this point in my business where I had the revenue, but I had no fulfillment, absolutely nothing. And you'd think, again, someone making $30,000 a month, it's not that I was spoiled or, I had all this money and I had this big ego around it. No, I really didn't. The issue was that I was sacrificing everything that mattered, which was my mental health, my physical health, and my spiritual health. Prior to actually hitting $30,000 a month, I actually competed in a pro bodybuilding show. Not many people know this. I might put up a picture somewhere, we'll see. But I actually competed in pro bodybuilding. And so that's where I was at physique level wise. I was very, very disciplined. I had a great physique. I spent all my 20s building myself up, right? Disciplining myself. And I basically threw it all away to build my business. I stopped gymming. I stopped eating healthy. I stopped taking care of myself. I stopped disciplining myself. I stopped having the habits that allowed me to build my physique because I was trying to build this business, which is fine. You can sacrifice to build the things that you want that are going to help, change the trajectory of your life. That's perfectly fine. But the issue is that if you sacrifice everything for something that gives you no play, right? That gives you no wiggle room for freedom, right? Then you're just kind of sacrificing everything that you built up to put yourself in a box with no windows, right? There's no opportunity for freedom and flexibility and abundance and anything. So that's why I say be very careful about the vehicle that you choose, because you can end up sacrificing everything you've worked for to finally have everything you think you wanted and be left with literally nothing, because you're actually in a worse situation than when you started. Because if I stayed as an employee, I'd make a lot less money, but I would actually have a lot more freedom. I could basically switch my mind off after 5 p.m., after my work shift is done. I could switch my mind off and I can hang out with my friends and I can go on vacations here and there and I could spend time with my family, but I couldn't do any of those things because I had client calls, client meetings, clients that I had to bend over backwards just to keep them happy. And so that was, again, this crazy paradox that I quickly realized. And now we can basically talk about how that ended, because I did drop the company. Not really by my intention. I could have 100% picked it up, but basically COVID came around. And when COVID came around, it did what it does best, and it shut down everything in its path. So every single business that I was working with on my marketing agency that I was fulfilling shut down. And so who was the first person that they had to let go, because I was basically rendered useless, was marketing. Why would you want to market a company that's not even able to be open and generate sales and bring in customers? So I got fired. My agency went from $30,000 a month to $900 a month overnight, completely overnight. So everything that I had built all that time, I built everything up. It was all gone in a blink of an eye, like literally flash in front of me. It was all gone. So at the time, that was a huge low for me because it was everything I built. Even though I literally hated everything about it, I despised the business. I despised my life at the time. I was obviously at a huge low because I had all my eggs in one basket. Everything was leaning on this business, all my income, all my overhead, everything I had, like my car, my house, all this like lifestyle increase that I had was all maintained by the business. And so I was really put against a corner trying to figure out like what to do next, and obviously had to figure something out. Well, we'll see how that evolved shortly here. but everything was basically taken away from me overnight. Now, again, I was kind of in this situation where I was extremely sad that that happened because obviously all my income was gone. But at the same time, on a very like spiritual level, an emotional level, I felt completely released. I literally felt like someone came with like big ass pliers and they snipped the shackles that were tied to me. They were completely gone. And so being placed in that situation where I lost everything, naturally I had to transition to like, what's the next thing? I have to jump onto the next thing. I didn't really have a time to breathe because I only had some savings from, making all the money. I had some savings and a little bit of time in a window to go off and do the next thing. So there was a few other things that happened in between, but around the same month where I lost every single client and I was down to $900 a month, something happened. My divine intervention, I call it, where something, someone above or somewhere in the universe sent me a sign. And it was basically that I was delivered a message, an opportunity for what I could do next. And that opportunity was YouTube. So backtracking a little bit, I used to do YouTube at the age of 13. I started YouTube when I was 13, all the way up until 17. So I had actually been making thousands of dollars online with YouTube from the ages of 13 to 17, which again also was for me opening like Pandora's box and showing me that I could make that much money online. It already completely screwed me up. And it was so hard for me to work a 9-to-5 job, knowing I could make all that money online on my own terms with my own two hands. And so it wasn't faceless channels, by the way. It was like me, personality channel stuff. I'll never show that content. It was very geeky stuff, but I made quite a sufficient amount of money to show me and the people around me that it was possible to make that kind of money online. So at the age of 17, that channel got terminated. I was doing something fishy. I think I bought subscribers. YouTube did not approve of that. They terminated my channel. That's when I went off and did all those other businesses, my drop shipping, my FBA, all that stuff. And then my agency, which got basically destroyed overnight. And then I got an email from YouTube saying that my YouTube channel was just magically restored, back intact, and I could start posting. And that felt like, for me, again, divine intervention. I felt like I lost everything, but really I was freed of my chains, and I had a chance, an opportunity, a second chance to go off and do something and build the right business, align myself with the right thing. And that's the key. Alignment is key. When you're making a decision to choose a business that is going to make you money, which is supposed to free you, you have to make sure that you're in alignment with the right business. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself not being freed and, again, stuck in the wrong business. So I had this opportunity presented in front of me to go do the right thing the second time around, which was YouTube. And I jumped on it, guys. I absolutely jumped on it. And this time around, I did it differently because I never knew about this whole faceless YouTube automation stuff. I only learned about it when I came back on. And I jumped straight in. I spent basically a year trying to crack the code. It was not very easy doing it on my own because mentors didn't exist at the time. There was no free YouTube content like my free YouTube content that I post and give you guys every single piece of gold that I've ever learned over the 5 years of doing this thing professionally. I give you guys everything for free. And that didn't exist back then. I had to figure this stuff out on my own. And I did. It took me a while, spent some tens of thousands of dollars figuring this thing out, and I finally did. Got my first channel take off, second channel take off, and so on and so forth. And as I did it, I evolved my skills and developed everything. It got better, smoother, quicker. And then I just started teaching it online on my YouTube channel, just sharing my teachings. That blew up like crazy and went off and got hundreds of thousands of views. I still have those videos, my first videos that I posted on my channel. Those are hidden now because what I talked about was very outdated, so I don't want it to be public. But they went off and got hundreds of thousands of views, right? So that information was obviously very, very powerful and very in demand. And so I just posted more and more and more, and naturally I kind of fell into the role of teaching, courses and coaching, and everything just kind of fell in its own lap. I did not ever anticipate being a coach, ever. That was not my intention of the end goal of where I am now. It was just me sharing my teachings, people really liking it blowing up, and me just leaning into that. I've always just leaned into the signs for me. YouTube, got an email from YouTube saying the channel was recovered. I could have just taken it like, okay, cool, fantastic, but like, why would I want to go back in? I did. I leaned into the sign, and it led me to where I am now. I started teaching some people, my friends and family. They really liked it. They started seeing success. So then just to streamline that process of teaching, I actually ended up making videos, posting them online with no intention of going viral, and they went viral. So I leaned into that. So I always just kind of lean into my instincts, lean into my gut feeling, and it usually, so far, treats me right. So not to go too derailed here. The point being is, another reason why I really leaned into this, because I also realized that attention is the new economy, right? Attention is the absolute new economy. So I realized, like, I was sitting here building other people's assets and making them money versus building my own assets, right? That's when I realized like I'm in the right place. I'm building my own assets, my own portfolio and catalog of videos that exists on YouTube, which is the second biggest search platform on earth, to then have this portfolio of videos that will always get watched forever, and I get compensated, right? Every single time somebody watches one of my videos, I get paid. And so it just hit me like a ton of bricks that instead of building someone else's business, even though I had my own business, my business was to help other people build their business to go make multiples of what I was charging them, versus building my own business and posting videos online on YouTube where they could just be watched freely. No one pulls out their credit card. No one pays for things. There's no products. There's no shipping. There's no customer service. There's no ads. There's no landing pages. There's no Facebook. There's no BS you have to deal with. It's literally just creating videos simply for people's entertainment, education, or motivation. And that's it. That's all you're posting videos for. And then YouTube runs ads on your content and we get paid. And so when that really, really sat with me, I realized I came onto something where I could not only make as much money as I want, but I could make it in the conditions where I work as much as or as little as I want, and I have complete flexibility because I don't have to make those videos myself. I actually outsource everything to other people. Or in this case, 2025, I use AI to do most of the content for me. Most of the content creation is done by AI and some freelancers, like an 80-20. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I've kind of been able to transition from all these other businesses where I was completely trapped, completely consumed by these businesses, to the point where I get to live in places like these. I travel the world. I retire my mom and my girlfriend. I do things when I want, if I want, and to the degree that I want, simply because I have no limitations financially or time-wise. I make my own schedule. Most of my businesses are completely automated, and that's all because of the power of YouTube. YouTube has given me the leverage, the capital, and the freedom and flexibility to go off and build more businesses, to travel the world, and to do things that I want on my own terms. And that would have never happened if I was stuck in a business that basically stripped me and rid me of any opportunity to be the person that I wanted to be and live in abundance. So I know this took a long time to get over here. Obviously, the end goal was talking about YouTube, and I did it just to give perspective. It's really nice to shine light on what other options there are and truly get a gist of what it would look like, kind of paint a picture of what it would look like if you had embarked on those journeys. And many of you have tried dropshipping. Many of you have tried FBA. Many of you have tried Etsy stores and all these other things. And the reason why they're not working and why you're here watching my videos or trying my program or trying YouTube automation in general is because you realize they don't work. Or even if you realize they do work, the conditions of them working are not conducive to what we're actually all looking for, which is freedom, flexibility, and financial abundance. Have those three things, you're set. That's all you really need in life, right? It's all we really need to have that sense of control in our life. Many of us lack control. We really just lack control. And if we just had control and we knew that we had the power to determine our outcomes because everything is in place, then our lives would be infinitely better, right? Our mental health would be infinitely better. Our families would be infinitely better. And so that's kind of the whole point of this, is just, again, to shine a light and to help you guys understand that don't chase the money, chase the right mechanism, because the money is there. Think of the umbrella. The money is there. There's all these different angles you can take and different businesses you can take. Just pick the right umbrella, right? Because if you pick the wrong one, you're going to find yourself trapped just like I was, depressed, fat, just complete hatred for myself. Don't chase the same path. Don't do the same mistakes I did. And that's the point why I share this content. Again, I know this is me yapping. I know. For those of you who are still here, by the way, you're MVPs. You're absolute gangsters. I really appreciate you guys for supporting me, the channel, listening to me just yap on the internet. I'm trying to provide as much value as I possibly can to just share my insights, my experiences, my failures, so you guys don't have to make the same mistakes I did. Some of the most valuable mentorship you can take from somebody is not the positive stuff or like the strategies and the SOPs and stuff like that. It's just knowing what not to do. It's literally learning what not to do, so you can just hyper fixate on the small amount of positive, needle moving, leverage tasks that'll actually move the business to where you want to go, or move, move you towards your goals. That's really the meat. That's the heart of mentorship, is learning from people who have already gone through what you're about to embark on, so you know exactly what to do, what not to do, where to hyperfixate your attention, and the skills you need to learn so that you can really multiply your leverage and multiply your success and accelerate that learning curve by just doing all the right things. And that's, again, why in my mentorship, I treat this thing like true mentorship. Like, we guide you and handhold you to help you develop skill sets. I don't give things to you. I don't give people niches. I don't give people channels. I don't give people teams. I don't give them things. I want to teach you how to understand, to pick the right things, to make the right decisions, to hire the right people, to fire the right people, right? To develop systems, to automate things. If I can teach you these things from the ground up together, you and I together, if I teach you these things, you will have, for the rest of your life, complete control and confidence in yourself, in your income, and taking care of your family and those around you, because you know what to do versus just me handing things off to you. The idea of the conceptualization of done for you is so stupid. Like, there's some rare instances it makes sense. If you're already super wealthy, you just want to dump 50 grand or 100 grand into a business and have it multiply, that's cool. But if you don't have that capital multiplier, and if you haven't developed those skill sets yourself to run these kind of businesses, the worst thing you can do is to buy a business or buy a done for you service. Just learn. Take the time to learn and work with somebody who's willing to hold your hand and teach you, to give you confidence and clarity, right, on how to build a business. And every decision that you make, that you have that confidence moving forward. You have someone auditing every decision you make and just giving you that, thumbs up. And if it's not good, then they help you fix it, right? So anyways, I'm done yapping because I'm just kind of going on weird tangents now. Hopefully you guys enjoy these videos. I've always mentioned this when I'm doing these yapping videos. If you enjoyed this video, please just leave a comment somewhere below. Just give me your honest feedback if this was helpful or if it was just complete dog shit. Just let me know. I'm very open to critique and feedback because that's how I learn and grow, and just adapt my videos to accommodate your guys' needs and interests. So if you did like it or didn't like it, just drop a comment with your honest feedback, and just subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And a nice little like helps. I also heard about this hype thing. I don't know much about it, but if you're willing to hype this video, that would be fantastic. If it didn't give you any value, that's fine too. But also join the first link in the description. It's a free school community where we go live twice a week. There's a whole free course stuff. It's like 7,000 people. It's not a big deal, but you should probably be a part of it because it's a fantastic community and it's a great place to connect with other like-minded individuals like yourselves, right? So this video over here will take you to my top 25 niches because you guys love niches, and this button here will help you subscribe to my channel, or maybe it's the other way around, I don't know. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Appreciate you all, and much love.